2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brandon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us. Is fear holding me back from doing the thing that I know is right? Welcome to the Real Talk Recovery Podcast with the Therapy Brothers.
We're brothers, we're therapists, and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery. Is fear holding me back from doing the thing that I know is right?
All right, good question. Before we dive into that question, we got a review here. It says, a huge blessing. I can't even begin to express how much your podcast has helped me. My spouse and I are currently in the messy middle while he works through his recovery and I work through my healing. Every episode resonates with me and my experience thus far in this journey. I look forward to each next episode and take what I have learned to heart and share it in my support group. Please keep doing what you do and know that you are helping change lives, heal and repair marriages, and bringing so much hope in what feels like impossible circumstances. Thank you.
Oh man, B, that's awesome to get that kind of feedback. You know, it's so nice to know that we're making a difference doing what we're trying to do here. And it's also nice of you to take the initiative to reach out and share that.
Well, that feedback motivates us to keep going. So it really does. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Without further ado, Brandon, let's jump into the question here. We got an awesome guest here. Trisha has been willing to come on, got a really good question. Trisha, thank you for coming on the show. If you don't mind, just introduce yourself, any of your backstory, and ask your question.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm glad we could make this happen. So they just always have lots of questions going on about my situation, and but this one's just been on my mind a lot lately. I guess a little bit of backstory on me is that I have a story that's common to your guys' little niche that you do, which is of sex and pornography addiction and betrayal trauma, and just kind of working through that. And so where I'm at in the process of all of that is I've done the specialized therapy, done group through Therapy Utah, and had been separated from my husband the very beginning of this year until now, and just filed for divorce about a month and a half ago. And so where this question comes from of like, is fear holding me back from moving forward with what I think is right, is I've had these moments where in my process of like acceptance and moving forward and what is life going to look like from, now on, where I feel like I know what's right and true at like a deep level, like for me, like a cellular level, where it's like, there's no way I can't do the opposite of what I'm feeling right now. And then I go about my daily life, I make my decision, and then, maybe things are hard, or reality hits me in the face really hard, and I get hit with like a panicky feeling or like a fear feeling, and just had that causes me to stall and to maybe drag my feet with things, and then I have to kind of talk myself back into, not talk myself into, but kind of just check in with that fear, I guess, and just see where it's coming from. And sometimes I would just stuff it down and not address it and say, no, I already know what my decision is. And so I think that's kind of maybe one reason why it keeps coming back sometimes. But so yeah, just kind of like is how is this fear affecting me? And I've also just noticed it in other areas and aspects in my life, like such as with signing up to come on this podcast. I was freaking out, and then I was like, I can do it, and I was excited to do it at first, and then I was really nervous, and then I don't have anything that anybody's going to want to hear talked about, and all these things, and then just to do it, I have a new job, and I get really nervous about that. I get fear and panic hits me with that. But right now, this this big decision of divorce, and it's almost completed, and I feel like it's the right decision, but just still I'll get hit with this big feeling of fear or panic sometimes as I realize my reality sometimes.
Well, Trisha, if you could, I actually really like your analogy of coming on the podcast, of having anxiety about it, yet here you are, you're talking, you're with us, we're doing this, right? And you're gonna be okay. It's a little bit scary, but you're gonna be okay. Now, divorce is a little different than that type of fear. And when you talk about when the reality of the situation hits you, what are you talking about? When could you give some specifics about that reality?
Sure. Yeah, just like when I think, like I had a big personal stigma, I guess, or negative association with divorce, I think, and the word, like anytime even still, when I just hear the word, my stomach just kind of does a little flop, and I just don't like it. My parents were divorced, and it was just this terrible thing. It was always just a terrible thing, a bad thing that I never wanted. And I wouldn't even say like it ruined my life, because it didn't, but it just, was just never how I wanted my life to go, or wanted my kids' life to go. So when I think about just that word and what comes with it, and then just being on my own, supporting myself and my kids, and maybe I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. Oh, think about dating again. Yuck. That doesn't sound fun. Just kind of everything. And that's negative. Like, sounds kind of negative, but that's when those are the thoughts and the feelings that I have that are, the fear side, or the panicky, anxious side. There's times also, obviously, I wouldn't, if I was always anxious and panicky, that wouldn't be fun, but also times of hope or excitement, or new beginnings, or just that nervous system release, and that nervous system calming down is totally worth it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Trisha, could you I think first I just want to say that your questions or your concerns are really, really common. I'm glad you're willing to come on the show and talk about this, because I know there's other people listening right now that are going, oh, I've wrestled with the exact same things, that wrestle over the word divorce, and oh no, what's going to happen if I make that choice? And I just want to ask you, you've obviously been wrestling with this for a while, and you're in the process right now. What has been your process to come to the decision that you've made? How have you come to the decision that you've made to move forward with your divorce?
That's, yeah, it definitely has been a process. I think just the first thing, which like it's just happened kind of in steps. So when my husband had, we'd gone through kind of the process of boundaries and bottom lines and things like that. And I had kind of, in my efforts, the best that I knew how, kind of surrendered, like, okay, I'm just going to let go of control, going to let go of everything, and just kind of went both feet into like our relationship and letting go of anything and just giving him trust and giving him the benefit of the doubt. And now I've learned, they say you have to practice trusting to see if someone's trustworthy. So I did that, and that was a painful lesson to learn. But so the hurt and the like the betrayal that came from that just caused me, it was like a switch went off. I was like, it's been 7 years, like, and I hear people on the podcast all the time saying, 30 years later, 20 years later, and I'm just like, I don't want to be that person that's been in this for so long and is ignoring the signs of what's right in front of me, so just kind of taking that space was good, to have my own space to focus. It's really hard to be around that person when they've caused so much hurt. And so just the first step for me was to physically separate. So I got my own place, and that was, there was a year ago before we separated that I wanted to do that. As far as I wanted to be away from him, but I didn't ever want to be separated or want to be divorced. So that was the first thing for me, was like, as I've learned in my therapies and group and stuff, is to find safety. And so that's what I did, emotional safety. And that was really good. It felt like I could just feel the relief of having my own space. And of course, like, I was a stay-at-home mom before, and so there were new different stressors, but to me it was like normal everyday life stressors of like, okay, I have a job, I have to go to work, I have to get the kids up. Like that's normal, that's expected. Being lied to, those sorts of things, that's not healthy and not expected for me in my life. That was causing me more distress than your typical stressors. So anyways, just kind of working through that, a lot of prayer. A lot of prayer, a lot of fasting, a lot of blessings and counsel from my church leaders and things like that. Just helped me to just sort things out. And group, going to group and learning what healthy was and what healthy wasn't, and just the signs to kind of look for. Like, a big help has been what you guys talk about are they being honest, and all the different signs of them being in recovery, and just kind of thinking to myself, just kind of going in with all the resources. Dr. Jennifer from Lace Vice says, just ask yourself, am I okay with a husband who does this? Am I okay with a life partner or spouse that lies to me all the time, and so I just kind of asked myself those questions, and like, no, I'm not, and it's affecting me deeply. So I don't know if that was a long answer to the question, but just kind of a lot of alone time and all that stuff.
Trisha, I know you've been in this for a long time, and I know that as you're talking, you can definitely hear, and we hear this all the time, this where you didn't want the divorce, you didn't want it to end up this way, and yet in the end, you're the one that kind of has to pull the trigger and say, I can no longer do this, and so it's heart-wrenching, because you in order to be true to yourself, in order to face reality, in order to really listen to what God is telling you, you have to almost do the very thing that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And so it's a tough position to be in. And especially at the stage that you're in right now, Trisha, you've already done a lot of work, and we could hear that in your story, in coming to this acceptance of the reality and having the courage to face that reality. You've done a lot of work, and you're right in the midst of really getting to that finalization point. And so the grief is still very present, and the pain is still
Yeah.
very very much there, and that's normal. That's actually healthy for you to be able to feel some of that, and to feel the sadness, feel the depression, feel the anger, whatever you're feeling there. And so I just want you to know that, first and foremost, that this kind of ambivalence, back and forth feelings, or anger or frustration or sadness is absolutely okay.
Yeah.
I can appreciate, Trisha, that you had the courage to come on the show and bring your heart with you the way you have today. And the reason I asked the question is because even after you come to that place of clarity, which it sounds like you've done the right kind of work. You know, people come into my office all the time and they say, when do I know when it's time to divorce my partner? And oftentimes that question is asked from a place of anger or exasperation or frustration or fear. And what I always say is, I say, make the decision when you've worked yourself to a place of peace and surrender. And
Yeah.
it sounds like you've really done the wrestle with yourself, with your feelings, with your values, with God, to come to the place of surrender. And then the crazy thing is that even after you find that peaceful place of surrender and it's the right decision for you to make, the decision, because it's just a crappy situation to be in, still yields really painful outcomes, even when it's the right thing to do. And that has a tendency to then swirl you all the way back into those questions of like, well, am I doing something wrong, or did I not do everything I could, or did I, all of that other stuff. And then the doubts start to come back in, and it almost tries to pull you back into the same cycle you just climbed yourself out of. And
Yeah.
I wanted you to hear your own words say, you've done the wrestling. Like, you have come to a
Yeah.
place of peace about the decision. This hasn't been a knee-jerk reaction for you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. And it's, I've told like my story enough times, like through group or therapy and things like that, the betrayal part of it doesn't really have the same effect as far as the stuff that happened that you'd normally be like, oh my goodness, that's crazy or hurtful. But to me, more now, it's this process of accepting this new reality of, what that's going to look like in 5 or 10 years down the road. And as like the pain has, lessened and those sorts of things, that's another thing. It's like, oh, well, I'm not so hurt, it's like, so that's also been good, I guess, but it's also been a point of questioning too, where I'm like, okay, so I'm not so hurt anymore. Do I want to go back with, like now, and I still am able to say, no, that's not what I'm looking for in a partner,
Mm-hmm.
But to notice like that also the lessening of the pain has made me kind of say, oh, is that, kind of question things and look at things again. Well, that's just kind of something I realized. But
Trisha, your gut, your intuition is clear, correct? Like as to what it's telling you to do.
yes, yeah. I think so.
Okay, so I believe you when you say that, and just knowing what you've been through, I in the early stages, when what you want, when there's a discrepancy between what you want and what the reality is, you try to talk your gut out of it. You try to say no, I don't.
Yeah.
And you can do that for a long time. People will do that for a long time, and now you're clear. Your gut is clear. This is what needs to happen to move forward. And it's interesting when that happens, when I believe that God is speaking to you to move forward in this way. And with divorce, it's interesting because God doesn't then come down and take away the pain and the stress of divorce. You still got to deal with custody. You still got to deal with money. You still got to deal with figuring things out now, like all this stress, right?
Yeah.
But, and I'm sure Tyler can back me up on this, everybody who I've seen go through a process of recovery and get into their own recovery and get clear and moving forward with their intuition and their gut, that goes through that painful process of divorce, it's painful, and then they have this peace. They have this,
Yeah.
they look back and they say, oh, yes, like it is better. Life is better. I feel better. I feel more in alignment with myself, with my purpose, with God. But you got to pass through this stage right now where there is a lot of stress. It reminds me of, I talk about this all the time, but Wim Hofing, jumping in. So me and Tyler like to jump in cold water. And
yeah, that's crazy.
yeah, I did it on Friday morning, and it was a river, and it was a bubbling river, so it was really cold. And I looked at that river, and it was a cold morning, and I thought, the last thing on earth I want to do right now is jump in that river. Like, I don't want to jump in that river. I don't want, but if God's telling me to do it, I should do it, right? So I jump in the river, and you know what happened, Trisha, when I jump in the river? First thing, panic.
Pain.
Just pain and panic. Like I am hyperventilating panic. And but then what happens when you sit in that pain for a minute? Your body starts to assimilate and get more comfortable, and you start to feel some peace in there. And you can almost get to a place where it's like, man, I could sit here for a while. And then when I get out of that water, I feel life. I feel energy come in. I feel exuberance for the day. I feel good. So do you see the parallel here?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like that. And that's something that I have noticed about myself and learned about myself through the process, because I've always called myself a cold water sissy. I'm like, if the lake's got to be 78 degrees or I'm not going. So I'm like, so like Lake Powell's, like in September, it'll be 78 to 80 degrees. And that's when I like to swim in the lake. But otherwise, because I don't like the discomfort. And that's what I realized is, like, I don't like something to be uncomfortable, and I don't like something to maybe hurt a little. Like, I will do like my natural instinct, which is probably normal for a lot of people, but I think I'm like, I could definitely work on that. Is my natural instinct is to like protect and keep myself comfortable and keep myself out of anything that's gonna be embarrassing, gonna be hard, gonna hurt, gonna all those things. So
yet Trisha, here you are on a public forum, on a podcast, talking about how you're getting divorced. And so you chose to be here. You chose to do this. So there is another part of you that isn't scared of pain. There's another very courageous part of you that is more than willing to say, you know what? I can face it. I can deal with it. I can step into it.
Yeah. And that's new. That's like a baby courageous Trisha. That's a new thing.
I want to just kind of follow up a little bit on what you guys are talking about here, because I think, Trisha, you alluded to this, where we've established now that your gut has you doing the right thing. And yet, as you're moving forward and as you get clarity and as you're not swimming in that emotional mess anymore like you used to be, and you're not triggered all the time, you're having these other thoughts come to mind. And some of those thoughts might actually have some truth to them. So for instance, I don't know if this is true or not, but it's really common to like consider, well, did I really do everything right in the marriage?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And the answer might be, no, actually I didn't. Like, and sometimes that answer pushes us back into the fearful place and feels like, okay, then I better stay in it longer. I better go back and take my decision back, or I better, and And that's not where you're at now. Where you're at is staying grounded in what the peace is and finding and gleaning the truth in what that thought is. And then with curiosity, learning from it and making new decisions as you move forward. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go back on your original decision that you've come to peace with. And it takes some emotional maturity to come to that place. And I hear that's what I hear in your question is that's right where you seem to be is, okay, can I learn from these thoughts instead of just either having them bury me or push me back the old way? And also not just push them away and like not take any accountability for my actions.
Yeah.
And
absolutely,
what Tyler's saying, it can coexist with the betrayal is absolutely 100% not your fault. So he cheated on you. He did those things. He acted out. He did those things. That's not your fault. And there's some learning and accountability and growth that you can look at and say, okay, what did I learn here? What could I do differently? How could I be more grounded in my boundaries or whatever it is, right? So.
Yeah, because I've always been kind of self-sacrificing. Like I would take the, self-sacrificing, people-pleasing, everything that comes along with all of that. I would take the brunt of something so that someone else wouldn't get embarrassed about it. But also, anyways, so
you'd be the dumping ground a little bit.
Yeah, and so oh shoot, I totally lost my train of thought. But
Trisha,
what you guys said was good.
Trisha, I want to tell you a story. And so I had this client I was working with for a long time, and she got herself to this position to maybe one step back from where you are right now, where she was very much contemplating filing papers for divorce. And she was sitting in my office and she's saying, I'm so terrified about the finances. I'm so scared. We don't have any money. And I was listening to her, and it was really interesting to me because they had financial problems their whole marriage. They had no money. He was in and out of jobs. He couldn't support them. And yet here she is saying, I don't know what we're going to do when it comes to finances. And it's interesting when you say, Trisha, you say dating, ooh, yuck, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, what about this possibility? What if your financial situation gets way better, like awesome, compared to where you've been in the last 10 years? And to her, in that fear, it was hard for her to even see that as a possibility. Like what? Like I could take more control of our finances. I can manage it. Something could shift for the better. And so it's the same with you, Trisha. It's the same with your relationships in the future. If you have them, maybe dating is going to be awesome and you're going to meet awesome people. Maybe your financial situation is going to be awesome. Maybe getting that job that you have to get right now is going to bless your life and change it and help you find purpose. And so like all these good, positive, exciting things are happening, and God is working them to happen right now in your life. Or you could look at it from another angle, right? Which is like, oh my gosh, this sucks. This is overwhelming. This is not what I want.
Yeah.
You see the difference?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that obviously to me it's obvious that that's where I'm going, to that place when when I have those fear or panic moments, is like I have to work to consciously, and I know it in my mind, but to believe it myself, I need to like consciously remind myself, just to have hope that God has a plan for me, and that maybe he has something greater planned for me than I ever could have even planned for myself, and just kind of those things that I need to write them down and stick them on my board so that I can remember that, because I know that sometimes it's just hard to really remember it or really believe it for yourself.
Especially when the stress hits, right?
Moments.
When the stress hits and the money stress comes, or the dealing with the kids or whatever, it's hard to remember that.
Yeah. Well, and this is the first time that I've had to like it's given me some empathy for the men who, I mean, men and women both work now a lot of the times, but in our home, he worked and I stayed home, and I'm like, that's a lot of pressure. Like, I feel like I'm a walking liability. You know, if I get hit by a car, my kids don't have, you know, food on the table or whatever. It's like, it's a lot of stress to provide, you know, for your family or whatever. So, yeah, definitely things like that come up. And I remembered what I was going to say about what Tyler was saying earlier, because that was kind of related to my original question too. So that hit home, was that becoming healthier and learning, you know, about emotional health and things like that, mental health and healthy relationships, is like, it whacks you at the same time, because you're like, oh, I didn't do that, or I thought I was doing this. And just, I've had to, like, I want to look at myself and I want to see how it can be better, because I absolutely want to learn everything that I can from this so that I can be better and so that it doesn't happen again. You know, just be the best, healthiest human being that I can. But is, you know, as I become healthier, I feel like I'm able to identify those maybe dysfunctional things and unhealthy things that I did even more. And so the process of not, like, beating myself up for those, and just giving myself grace and understanding, like, that I did the best that I could and the best that I knew how in those moments. But that's just kind of a funky thing that comes with working recovery, is like, oh yeah, I'm feeling good. Oh, I sucked at that. I didn't do, you know, that was terrible. That's embarrassing to think that I used to do that. And now I see that it's, like, really unhealthy, you know? So it's kind of a funny thing, but how that works.
That's it's awesome that you're having that awareness, Tricia. And I was just going to add to that a little bit, that just by nature of the place you're at in your life, the chapter you're taking, the new decision, that new decision comes with change. And anytime there's change, even if it's right, it feels overwhelming. And the challenge here, and here's maybe a little tool that you can use for yourself, is that when you feel that sense of overwhelmed, the autopilot wants you to go back into fear, shame, and doubt, because that's the currency that you've been using. That's maybe the currency that he's been using with you as you guys have negotiated making your decisions. And every time you feel that feeling of being overwhelmed, and you notice that fear and that shame and that doubt, I challenge you to pause and actually acknowledge that feeling overwhelmed isn't necessarily a bad thing. It means growth is in the mix. And to ask, how is this trying to teach me, or what do I need to learn from this, instead of, am I bad and did I do something wrong? So that overwhelmed feeling can now be the catalyst for the exercise, instead of the thing that tries to push you back and bury you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I am just taking notes, but I guess I can listen back later too. That's really good. Yeah.
The simple fact is that you will be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
You can't avoid that. You're going to be overwhelmed.
But do you have to associate that overwhelm with guilt and shame? Like, do those have to be accompanying emotions, right? That's kind of what you're saying, Tyler.
That's
right?
exactly what I'm saying.
Like, don't attach a self-rejection to overwhelm. You're already feeling overwhelmed. And so when you feel that overwhelm, and this is a weird thing to say, but have gratitude for the overwhelm as an opportunity for growth, as opposed to beat yourself up with all the shoulds. I shouldn't have gotten divorced. I should have never married him. I shouldn't be in this situation. Don't beat yourself up with that. Rather, feel the overwhelm and grow from it. That's good, Tyler. I thought with your tone, I thought you were going to bust out a poem. You know, it's the end of an episode. Where's the poem?
I know. I want a poem, Tyler.
I can throw one out there for you if you want one.
Heck yeah.
Actually, there was one coming through my mind. It's actually from an old hymn, and it's it's just one verse of it, but I will quote it for you. And it says,
yes.
It says, when through fiery trials thy pathway shall lie, my grace all sufficient shall be thy supply. The flames will not hurt thee. I only design thy dross to consume and thy gold to refine. And
boom.
Yes.
How firm a
Boom.
Preach.
foundation.
I
Look at
love
him.
it.
Trisha, look at him just bust that out. You know, that's
I know.
that's talent. He's a talented man.
I got goosebumps. Yeah.
That was
I-
good.
I love watching my brother mock me all the time.
No, that
He
seriously,
does like to do that.
seriously though, that was awesome, Tyler. Like
Yeah.
those words,
That was
if you really
beautiful.
break those down, that's exactly where you're at, right, Trisha?
Yeah, I love
Awesome.
that, Tyler. Thank you. That was awesome. What page number can I find that on? Which one is that? I don't recognize
It's
it.
how firm a foundation, verse number 5, I think.
Oh, okay.
All right, we
Cool.
got to wrap up. Trisha, it's been so good talking to you today. Nice work with all of your
Yeah.
recovery work.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been awesome. I'm glad that I came on to talk with you guys. You guys are so great.
You did it. You made
Yeah.
it through the episode.
I
Nice
did
job.
it. Yeah, I was so nervous. Thanks, guys.
All right, you guys,
Appreciate it.
have a good day. We'll see ya.
All right, you too. Bye.
Bye.